This is the gospel according to the IRS, Breaking Points and Church Financial Updates. And now, here's the authority, Dr. Michael Chitwood and Breaking Points.
This is Michael Chitwood. Welcome to Breaking Points today, and I have some IRS breaking news for you. The IRS has just released their new audit requirement procedures on ministers of the gospel. And ladies and gentlemen, you have never in your life seen anything like this. So grab a pen and a pad. I'm getting ready to tell you some things that you need to know about auditing of the minister's income tax returns. First of all, I'd like to ask you a question. What in the world could be better than taking care of a man of God who is always taking care of so many others? They have so much to do, so many responsibilities, so many things that they have to do every day of their life. They can't be worried if their income tax return is going to be prepared properly. Now here's your problem. Point number one. You understand, ladies and gentlemen, and you must get this down because this is breaking news. If you don't allow your pastor to make sure of this, then he could be in serious trouble with the Internal Revenue Service. And you know as well as I do, once they get on you, it's hard to get them off of you if you don't know what you're doing. But I want that question to kind of resonate within you for a few moments about what could be better. What could be better than taking care of a man of God who is always taking care of so many other people? That's the reason why that we love our ministry here at Chitwood and CMTC and Breaking Points and all of the things that we do to help our thousands of churches across America. We love it because it's our ministry. Point number one I want to give you today. If your church books are not being done properly, there's absolutely no way that the minister's income tax return will be complete or accurate. So my point is this. A lot of you think that you have a bookkeeper, but you don't have a bookkeeper. You have a check writer. Now that's good. I'm not trying to be critical of check writers, but you know as well as I do that there's a big difference between a bookkeeper and a check writer. So point number one, if the bookkeeper / check writer is not doing the books of the church properly, then there's no way, absolutely no way, that you're going to be able to have the minister's tax return done properly. So, point number two, you need to make sure that you have someone preparing your income tax return that knows what they're doing. Now, not everybody knows how to prepare a minister's income tax return. Some people try to still put you on the wrong forms. Tomorrow's session, I'm going to be talking about the correct forms that a minister of the gospel has to file. So point number two is make sure that you're getting someone to prepare your income tax return that knows what they're doing. Somebody that has the experience, that has done tax returns before with ministers. Now, part of your problem is you really don't know, because if you call and ask somebody, do you do income tax returns for ministers? Their obvious answer is going to be what? Yes, we do, because they want your business. But you can't rely upon that. I know of 13 ministers of the gospel that have just recently gone through the most terrible 2 years of their life in Memphis, Tennessee, because they were audited by the Internal Revenue Service, and it cost them $13,000 to $20,000 per audit just to get them out of that thing because they had received bad advice. My father's always said this: cheap advice is expensive. You normally pay for what you get. So be careful. Point number two in this lesson is be careful who prepares your income tax return. I want to say something to you here. Sometimes free is not always the best. Sometimes you think somebody in your church should prepare your tax return. Don't ever let anyone in your church prepare your personal tax return. First of all, they don't need to be seeing all of that confidential information. And number two, the way that you prepare somebody else's tax return is not the same way that you prepare a minister's tax return. There are different sets of rules, like Section 1402C, that talks about that you are self-employed for Social Security purposes, but you're self-employed for the way that they have to apply the law to it. So you have to know that code section there. In other words, you're an employee for income tax purposes, but you're self-employed for Social Security purposes. They don't understand that. So it's important for you to make sure that you have someone that knows how to prepare your tax return properly, accurately, and will stand behind you if you ever have a problem with the Internal Revenue Service. Point number 3 on your thing of breaking points today. You understand, ladies and gentlemen, one of the worst things that you can do is, if you're ever audited by the Internal Revenue Service, is to try to represent yourself. You can't represent yourself. Here's why. The language is different. The way that they ask you a question may be different than the way that you would answer that question. So don't ever represent yourself before the Internal Revenue Service unless you have someone that knows how to do churches and non-profit organizations and ministers of the gospel. Here's the final point. As you go through the process of beginning to prepare your records so that you can prepare your income tax return, point number 1, make sure that you have every document. Point 2, make sure you have every receipt that you need, that you put on that tax return. Make sure you have a good, complete audit trail, and you'll find out that your personal financial house will be in order just as much as your house of worship will be in order. Tomorrow I'm going to be bringing to you all of the tax forms that a minister of the gospel has to file for his personal income tax return. Until next time, this is Michael Chitwood saying I will see you tomorrow on Breaking Points.
Breaking Points gives you the latest IRS updates and tax law. Pastor, if the IRS came to your church today, what would you say? If you really want your house of worship in order, call 1-800-345-9117.